There is a sound that is not born from the striking of two objects. It does not require wind to pass through a reed, nor strings to vibrate. It is the sound that existed before the first star ignited, before time began to count itself, before space unfolded its vastness. That sound is Om. Not merely a syllable, not merely a chant, but the primordial resonance from which all things emerge and into which all things dissolve. Every tradition that has touched the depths of consciousness speaks, in its own language, of a sacred vibration. But in the ancient science of the Vedas, Om is not a metaphor. It is the underlying frequency of existence itself. To know it is not to believe in a symbol, but to enter into harmony with the pulse of the cosmos. When you close your eyes and intone Om, you are not creating something new. You are tuning your being to that which is already there, always humming beneath the noise of thought and the shifting currents of the world. It is the still axis around which all motion turns. It is the silent drumbeat that sustains galaxies and atoms alike. To experience Om is to stand at the point where creation and dissolution are one, where the many and the one are not opposed but the same. This is why yogis, sages, and mystics have devoted lifetimes to the practice of entering this sound, not as an act of worship alone, but as a direct participation in the structure of reality. If the mystery of Om speaks to something deep within you, let that spark grow. Like this video, subscribe to this channel for more explorations into the hidden sciences of the soul, and in the comments write this affirmation: I am one with the eternal sound. These words are not mere decoration. They are an agreement you make with yourself, a seal upon your own intention to step into a higher alignment with life. The science of Om is not confined to the pages of old scriptures or the halls of monasteries. It is a living, testable reality for anyone willing to observe deeply. In the Upanishads, Om is described as the bow, the soul as the arrow, and the ultimate truth as the target. This is not poetry for its own sake. It is an exact instruction. The vibration of Om is the tool, your awareness the force, and the realization of unity the aim. In physics, we speak of frequencies and waveforms. In metaphysics, we speak of prana and consciousness. The bridge between them is vibration, and Om is the archetype of all vibration. Modern instruments may not yet measure the full spectrum of what Om carries, but the human nervous system, refined through discipline, can perceive its effects with clarity sharper than any device. When Om is chanted correctly, it is not the mouth alone that speaks. The chest resonates, the skull hums, the spine tingles. The sound moves downward and upward at once, like a river flowing in two directions. This dual motion mirrors the nature of reality itself: expansion and contraction, birth and death, inhale and exhale. In each phase of the syllable, the A rising from the belly, the U rolling forward in the throat, the M closing upon the lips, there is a complete cycle of creation, preservation, and dissolution. And beyond the M lies the fourth, silent phase, the pure stillness that is the source and the goal. Scientists now know that matter is not solid, but patterns of energy vibrating in fields. String theory suggests that the tiniest constituents of reality are not particles, but vibrating loops, whose oscillations define everything from quarks to galaxies. To the rishis of ancient India, this was not a theory, but a lived perception. When they spoke of Om as the sound of the universe, they were not speaking in ignorance of science, but from a science of direct experience. A science whose laboratory was the body and mind, and whose instruments were attention, breath, and mantra. The repetition of Om is not simply about making noise. It is about aligning one's inner frequency to the fundamental tone that sustains existence. Just as a musical instrument falls into harmony when tuned to the correct pitch, so too does the human being find balance when resonating with Om. Anxiety, restlessness, and disconnection are signs of being out of tune. The practice brings the wandering mind into focus, steadies the emotions, and opens a channel to states of awareness that feel at once deeply intimate and infinitely vast. In the ancient cosmology, Om is said to contain all possible sounds, all possible words, all possible worlds. Every language is born from it. Every thought rides upon it. Every breath carries its echo. When you become still enough, you may begin to hear it in the rustle of leaves, the crash of waves, the hum of machinery, even in the quiet between your own heartbeats. The sound itself is not dependent on your chanting. Rather, your chanting is a way of remembering, of matching yourself to what has always been. And yet, to understand Om intellectually is not enough. You can memorize the scriptures, study the physics, quote the mystics, but until the sound becomes an experience that shakes the roots of your being, it remains theory. True knowing comes when the boundary between you and the sound dissolves, when there's no longer a listener and a vibration, but only vibration itself, aware of itself. At that moment, Om is no longer a practice. It is your own nature revealed. The vibration of Om is not bound by the limitations of time or place. It is the same sound that was heard in the caves of the Himalayas thousands of years ago, in the temples of ancient India, and in the silent meditation halls of seekers across the ages. Its resonance is not just in the air, but in the very field that holds all existence together. In the moment of chanting Om with awareness, the mind ceases to wander between past and future. It rests in the present, where the vibration becomes both the path and the destination. This is why Om is often said to be both the map and the territory of spiritual awakening. By aligning ourselves with this sound, we align with the very geometry of the cosmos. We become participants in the eternal song rather than passive listeners. Science has begun to uncover what sages always knew. The sound Om corresponds to certain frequencies that can be measured, frequencies that affect the human brain and nervous system in profound ways. Studies show that chanting Om can stimulate the vagus nerve, calm the heart rate, and create coherence between the hemispheres of the brain. More than just relaxation, this coherence is a gateway to higher states of consciousness. It is as though Om tunes the human instrument, clearing distortions so that life itself may flow through more freely. This is the bridge where ancient wisdom meets modern understanding. But while science can measure the effects, it cannot capture the mystery. For the essence of Om lies beyond instruments and charts. It belongs to the realm of direct experience, where words give way to silence and silence gives birth to sound again. When you chant Om with full attention, it is not simply the voice that vibrates. The whole body becomes a resonator, and the boundaries between the chanter and the sound begin to dissolve. The syllable unfolds in 3 parts: A, U, M, each representing a dimension of existence. The yaki A vibrates in the lower body, rooting you into the physical world. The Au moves through the chest and throat, connecting you to the realm of thought and emotion. The M hums in the skull, drawing awareness into the subtle realms of consciousness. And then comes the silence after the M, the fourth unspoken element, where all becomes still and you rest in the infinite. In that silence, you may realize that Om was never outside you. It was the sound your soul has been singing since the beginning of time. The yogic tradition teaches that every thought, word, and action leaves an imprint on the subtle body. These imprints, or samskaras, shape the way we perceive reality. Om acts as a purifier, dissolving impressions that no longer serve the path of awakening. It is like a tuning fork that resets the entire system to its original harmony. This is why the great sages advised beginning and ending each day with Om. Not as a religious ritual, but as a conscious return to the source. Each repetition is an offering to the vast intelligence that sustains life, an acknowledgement that we are threads in a tapestry far greater than our individual stories. Yet Om is not only for moments of peace, it is especially powerful in times of chaos, when the mind is restless and the heart is unsettled. Chanting Om, then, is like dropping an anchor in the storm. It reminds you that no matter what changes in the external world, the essence of existence is unshaken. The rhythm of your breath, the vibration of your voice, and the stillness that follows. All of these become portals back to the center. And from that center, even the most turbulent waves lose their power to throw you off course. In the same way that a single drop of water reflects the entire sky, the sound of Om contains the blueprint of the entire universe. It is the sound of galaxies spinning, of stars being born and dying, of the wind moving through forests and the tides rising and falling. It is the sound of your own heartbeat when you are still enough to hear it. In this recognition, the distance between you and the universe disappears. You are not chanting to something separate. You are simply remembering what you already are. The mystery of Om deepens when we understand that it is both personal and impersonal. It can be chanted softly in the privacy of meditation, a whisper between the soul and the infinite. Or it can be chanted in a gathering, voices merging until there is no individual voice left, only the vast hum of unity. In either case, the effect is the same. The sound unravels the illusions of separateness and reveals the seamless whole beneath. This is why in many traditions, Om is placed at the beginning and end of prayers, mantras, and sacred texts. It is the Alpha and the Omega, the seed and the fruit, the beginning that is also the end. The deeper you go into the practice of Om, the more you realize that it is not about the sound alone, but about the awareness with which it is made. A distracted mind will only hear noise, but a focused heart will hear eternity. The key is presence, to chant not mechanically, but as if each Om were the first and the last you would ever speak. In this way, the sound becomes alive, a living bridge between the finite and the infinite. And as you cross that bridge, something within you shifts, not because you have learned something new, but because you have remembered what was never lost. Even now, as you hear these words, there is a subtle vibration in the background of your awareness. It is not the sound of my voice or the hum of the world outside. It is the eternal Om, present in every moment, waiting for you to turn towards it. The practice is simple, yet the journey it opens is endless, and in that journey lies the key to the mystery of why this sound holds the universe together. For Om is not just the sound of creation, it is creation itself, endlessly arising, endlessly dissolving, yet never ceasing to be.